Oops. So I bought a few books. Hi everyone, it's me, Jess. I went book shopping. I was struggling a little. I was sick. It's corrections time at work and it's spooky season, and actually it's Halloween tomorrow. This will probably go up on Halloween. I'm not sure if I can get it up tonight. And I was also thinking about nonfiction November. And so I thought, oh, I don't even really have anything. Well, I have a couple of books for nonfiction November, but I just got inspired, you could say. Inspired to shop. Yes, she was inspired to shop. So I'm going to talk about some of the books that I've been waiting. Sometimes I'm waiting for books to come out in paperback. So some of the books that I've been waiting for to come out in paperback have come out, and I've picked those up. And then along the way, doing these videos where I talk about the books that the Globe and Mail has recommended has really made me tempted to buy some of those books, and also I guess the prize books as well. I do get books out of the library as well, but oftentimes the books are in high demand or unavailable. Let's get into the books. I'm going to do them in order of spooky, other, and nonfiction. So I did just do a video about spooky authors to read for the spooky season. It's funny because I never put spooky authors on my October TBR. I always think of it towards the end of October, so I guess I'm going to be reading some spooky books in November. The one that I was really excited about is Pet Sematary by Stephen King. So the reason why I bought this book and the reason why I want to read this book is because I just finished reading The Bee Sting, which you would have seen me talk about in my most recent wrap-up. PJ refers to Stephen King's Pet Sematary, and I've since come to learn that it's very influential of all kinds of other books, and that it had a big influence, but I just went right over my head. I never read it. The only two books that I've read by Stephen King, actually three books that I read by Stephen King, were The Shining, back when I was like 13 years old when I was away at sleepaway camp. Oh my goodness, that was so good. And then I read The Body. I actually did a vlog where I read The Body, which is a shorter novella, which was fantastic. And then years and years ago, I'm sorry I don't remember the title, but I read his book that is like a time travel book that covers the assassination of JFK, which was also really good. A little bit long, but really good. So I just couldn't resist Pet Sematary, and I'm so excited to read it. It's very spooky. But I have a couple of other books that I just need to finish before I can start this one. I'm putting myself on a strict do not start before you finish book schedule. So that for sure, I think I'm going to be reading in November. It'll probably be on my November TBR. And then I was so happy to see this in the bookstore. I got too excited about it. When I heard about it the first time, oh my gosh, these books are all falling all over the place. Too many books beside me. This sounds so good. So I picked up Briefly A Delicious Life by Nell Stevens. And when I first heard about it, I really wanted to read it, but I didn't want to buy it in hardback. So I waited, and here it is in paperback. And it's actually really good for spooky season as well. So this, I think, is a love story. It's a historical fiction, but it also has a character who's a ghost, a teenage ghost, pining for a woman who can't see her and doesn't know she exists. I mean, it just sounds really good. I thought it was based on the life of Chopin. Is it the Chopin? Chopin? Yes. Frédéric Chopin? Anyway, I don't know. I just heard about it, really wanted to read it, so I think it is. I feel like I need to look it up now. Super excited for that one. And then in terms of some other creepy, spooky, thriller, mystery books, I picked up the Pallbearers Club because Books and Lala had talked about this, I think, last year. This is like a memoir of the main character, so it's written in the format of a memoir, and it's funny because it has like little notations in it. So it's a sort of a different way of, it's got a different format. So this is like supposed to blur the lines between fiction and memory. It's an immersive, suspenseful portrait of an unforgettable and unsettling friendship. I don't know too much about it. I usually take books and Lala's recommendations because she has really good taste. So I guess I'll let you know some more about it after I read it, when I read it, if I read it. I don't know if anyone else has read the Pallbearers Club. Let me know in the comments below. I just picked it up because it seemed like it would be good. Okay, so it says there's like a bit of New England folklore that the main character was obsessed about, having to do with digging up the dead, or her friend was obsessed about. And they take photos of corpses and stuff. Ooh, it sounds creepy. The other one that I picked up is This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno. Again, Books and Lala talked about this book. This is about a couple, I think. It's a horror novel, but it's also a horror novel about the loneliness of living between cultures and the all too real oppressive intimacy of technology. Oh, weird. So the two characters, Vera and Tiago, I hope I'm saying the correct character's name right. It says, ever since Vera and Tiago bought the Itza, life has gotten strange. The ads for the world's most advanced smart speaker didn't mention scratching in the walls, eerie music in the dead of night, or peculiar packages. Perfect! That sounds good. So some spooky books that I added to my library, some of which I'm for sure going to get to and some of which I may not get to. And then I have other books for various book clubs coming up and buddy reads coming up, and just general caught my attention. So I think I need to buy that kind of books. Before we get to those, let's talk about this one. And this is the only one that I bought. I bought this new in hardcover, everybody. What is happening to her? Lots of people have been talking about it. Study for Obedience by Sarr Bernstein. I am reading this with my book club next month, so I don't need to say too much about this one. I think everybody knows I've talked about it on my channel before. I'll report back when it's read, and you will see it again when I film my TBR. Then I picked up Matrix by Lauren Groff, which it's been around for a while. Her new book, The Vaster Wilds, I had talked about because it was on that list of books to read in the fall that were recommended by the Globe and Mail. I have The Fates and the Furies on my bookshelf, and it's funny because I'm planning to film a video about, inspired by Jolene at Bookworm Adventure Girl. She did a video about why haven't I read these authors yet, and I was going to add Lauren Groff to that list because I haven't read anything of hers yet, but I'm about to, so I'll have to think of other authors instead. So this is going to be an upcoming buddy read with Rory, one of my viewers. This is also LGBTQ. I think it's about a lesbian relationship, and it's also historical fiction, I think, because it's supposed to be based on, I thought it was based on Joan of Arc. On the back, the quote is, she rides out of the forest alone, 17 years old, in the cold March drizzle, Marie, who comes from France. I don't know, I think, or is it about a monastery? I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. That is the joy and the pleasure of hearing a book hyped, picking it up, and wanting to read it. So that's Lauren Groff's. And I'm actually really happy about that because I was only, again, out in hardcover and I wanted it in paperback. So I'm happy about that one. Speaking of Joan of Arc, she's on my mind. I think I just missed this when it was maybe making the rounds, if it made the rounds. You can let me know in the comments below if it has already. It had made the rounds in BookTube. I'm not sure if it did or not. But this is a historical fiction that tells the story of Joan of Arc. It's written by Katherine J. Chen, and it has a blurb from Hilary Mantel on the front, so I mean, maybe it's really good. But I just saw this in the bookstore and I love the cover, and it kind of intrigued me. I think I'm going to go into more of a historical fiction. It feels good for the winter months to get into some historical fiction. And this is a really critically acclaimed. Sounds like it's really well researched and really well written. I know the story of Joan of Arc, but I feel like I want to read it. Yeah, I'm very excited for that. I picked up a copy of The Nickel Boys by Colson Whitehead. This is winner of the Pulitzer Prize. I did I have not read The Underground Railroad. I did start to read one of his books that I had taken out of the library. I think it was Harlem Shuffle, but I didn't get to finish it before I had to return it. Other things took precedence. So I really would like to read this. It would have been on my list of why haven't I read these authors yet. We'll see if I get to it or not. This, I think most people know about, but I'll just read you some of the description on the back. It's based on the real story of a reform school that operated for 111 years and warped the lives of thousands of children. And it's a devastating, driven narrative that showcases a great American novelist writing at the height of his powers. When Elwood Curtis, a black boy growing up in 1960s Tallahassee, is unfairly sentenced to a juvenile reformatory called the Nickel Academy, he finds himself trapped in a grotesque chamber of horrors. Elwood's only salvation is his friendship with fellow delinquent Turner, which deepens despite Turner's conviction that Elwood is hopelessly naive, that the world is crooked, and that the only way to survive is to scheme and avoid trouble. So I don't think I need to read any more. This I'm really wanting to read. I really like the simplicity of this cover. I also picked up another book that I was influenced by, The Globe and Mail's. Anne from Anne Novella told me that this was her fave read of 2022. So that really pushed me, and you really pushed me to get this book. So this is The Most Secret Memory of Men. It's pretty chunky, so I'm not sure when I'm going to get to it, but I definitely want to read it. It sounds fascinating. It's based on a true story about an author who plagiarized or was accused of plagiarizing their work and won the Paris Literary Prize. And this book won the Paris Literary Prize. Which prize? The Prix Goncourt. This is the winner of the Prix Goncourt, the Prix Transfuge, a finalist for the Grand Prix du Roman de l'Académie Française. Don't you love hearing me talk in French? Finalist Prix Décembre, finalist Prix Hennessy de Livre, and finalist Prix Féminin. So it's won a ton of prizes. It says a brilliant labyrinth, highly entertaining page-turner, and a contemporary masterpiece. Set in Paris, 2018. Diane Faye, a young Senegalese writer, discovers a legendary book published in 1938 titled The Labyrinth of Inhumanity. No one knows what happened to the author, T.C. Eleman. Accused of plagiarism, his reputation was destroyed by critics and he subsequently disappeared without a trace. Faye embarks on a quest to uncover the fate of the mysterious author. He follows his trail from Senegal to Argentina and France, confronting the great tragedies of history, the impact of colonialism and neocolonialism, the Holocaust in Europe, dictatorships in South America and the Caribbean, genocide in Africa, wow, that's a lot, and collaboration and resistance everywhere. So while he's doing this investigation, he becomes part of a group of young African writers in Paris who talk, drink, philosophize, and more. It just sounds so good. If you've read this, let me know. I already know that it's good. I just have to get to it. I know it. I'm really glad I picked it up. So a couple more that I've heard about over the last year or two that I've wanted to get to. We Run with the Tides by Vendetta Vida. This is about a group of teens. Poignant and hilarious, We Run the Tides is Vendetta Vida's masterful portrait of an I can never say that word, inimitable place on the brink of radical transformation, as well as a gripping mystery and a tribute to the wonders of youth in all its beauty and confusion. Oh, it just sounds so good. I've never read anything by this author. Oh, and I just realized I picked up a bookmark. I'm a little bit of a sucker for bookmarks. It is nothing to die. It is dreadful not to live. Yes! Books and bookmarks. Another book that I've heard so much talk of and never picked up, which I've been meaning to pick up for such a long time and get to and read, is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. In fact, when I first started my booktube channel, everybody was talking about this book, so I'm really behind the times. But I've not read anything by Ocean Vuong, and I think this is the place to start. I think it will make me cry. So if ever I have a prompt for a book that will make you cry, this is probably it. For those of you who don't know, it's a letter from son to a mother who cannot read. It's a witness to the fraught yet undeniable love between a single mother and her son. It's also a brutally honest exploration of race, class, masculinity in our current American moment. Immersed as we are in addiction, violence, and trauma, but undergirded by compassion and tenderness. I've heard the writing is incredible. Yes. I don't know, what is it that I say at the end of every book? Yes! Great! Can't wait to read that one. I mean, I feel like so much of the language in these videos is repetitive. I'm like, oh, how can I say this a different way? Oh, I always say I'm very excited to get to this one. Another one that was on the list of books to read this fall that really piqued my interest was Wild Hope by Joan Thomas. And Joan Thomas is a Governor General's Award winner. So I think this could be interesting potentially to discover an author. Five Wives was the name of the book that she won the Governor General's Award for. But this is a mystery about a man who goes missing, who runs a restaurant, and right before he went missing, he was in a fight with his childhood friend. And there's an evil character which made me have to pick it up. The evil character is a billionaire who, of course, owns a bottled water company. And that just intrigued me. So we'll see. This book I also have heard a lot of good things about and decided I wanted to pick it up. A Woman is No Man by Etaf Rum. Again, it's probably one of those ones that I kind of missed all the hype on. It's about, first of all, Etaf Rum was born and raised in Brooklyn by Palestinian immigrants. And the story is set in Palestine in 1990 with a 17-year-old character, Isra, who prefers reading books to entertaining the suitors her father has chosen for her. But she finds herself betrothed and soon living in Brooklyn. So it starts in Palestine and then it comes to Brooklyn. At her grandmother's insistence, 18-year-old Daya must meet with potential husbands, though her only desire is to go to college. Wait, so these are two different characters, Isra and Daya. It says, set in an America at once foreign to many and staggeringly close at hand, A Woman is No Man is a story of culture and honor, secrets and betrayals, love and violence. It is an intimate glimpse into a controlling and closed cultural world, and a universal tale about family and the ways silence and shame can destroy those we have sworn to protect. I've heard that this is really, really good. I don't like the sticker, read with Jenna. So let's pretend that sticker's not there and assume that this is a fantastic book. I also picked up another one that I've seen. I don't know. Sometimes it's like I don't know where I heard about the book or why it was good. Probably from another YouTuber. Look at this cover for The Wilder Girls. I'm sorry there's a glare, but oh, I don't know. You can see it probably better if I just hold it back. Look at that cover! It's about girls in school and a teacher. It says first, well, no, it's about kids in school, but it's about, is it about a pandemic? It says first the teachers died one by one, then the talks began to, yeah, it is. It's about sort of pandemic-like. Then the talks began to infect the students, turning their bodies strange and foreign, now cut off from the rest of the world and left to fend for themselves on their island. So it's a little bit like Lord of the Flies, but with girls. Cool. One of them goes missing. Sounds fantastic. Then I did pick up, so along the lines, I've been thinking about doing another college reading vlog, and I don't know if this friend of mine is watching. If you are, hi! A friend of mine is an English teacher at the same school where I teach, and I know that this semester she has as one of her books in her courses, The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Never read any Ernest Hemingway either. I thought A Movable Feast was the place to start, but she tells me The Sun Also Rises is fantastic. So I picked it up and I think I'm going to keep it aside maybe, so for either sometime in spring or maybe in the early part of next year, I want to do a follow-up installment of the college reading vlog and read books that some of my English teachers are teaching in their college courses. This is the first one. It's very exciting. And I do love this cover. Again, I love the simplicity of the colors on this cover. Yes, I'm thinking ahead, everyone. I'm thinking ahead. Now we get to my pile for nonfiction November. So I got really excited about nonfiction November. I got really excited about nonfiction November, and I got really excited about nonfiction in general because I read In Cold Blood, and before that I read Lost Girls, if you've been following me on my channel, and I just got really excited about sort of reinvigorated about reading true crime, but also nonfiction in general. So the first one I had to order, if you follow me on my Instagram, you would have seen that I went to try and find this book and it was not available in any of my local bookstores. So I actually had to order it in to one of our bookstores. That's Picnic at Hanging Rock by Joan Lindsay. I talked about this in the spooky books, nonfiction spooky books video that I just made. This is a haunting novel about the disappearance of 3 boarding school girls from, and we don't know, it's one of those books where you don't know if it's a true story or not. It's also supposed to be subtly erotic, so that sounds good. It says, it was a cloudless summer day in the year 1900. Everyone at Appleyard College for young ladies agreed it was just right for a picnic at Hanging Rock. After lunch, a group of 3 girls climbed into the blaze of the afternoon sun, pressing on through the scrub into the shadows of the secluded volcanic outcropping. Farther, higher, until at last they disappeared. They never returned. So I know that there are 4 words that we could refer to for prompts, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in my TBR for Nonfiction November. And I think that this would be good for fraud, because I think she did say that you could interpret fraud if it was a nonfiction book that may or may not be fictionalized. Fraudulent. Yes, I think so. So that's exciting. You'll hear more about that again when I talk about my TBR. When I bought these books, I didn't actually know the words for the prompts. I think it's fraud, web, capital, and display or audacity. I don't remember the 4th one. Yeah, I think it's display. So the books that I picked up, some of them do fit some of those prompts, and I can probably make the other ones fit. I watched Charlie's video when she was doing her vlogs for Vlogtober, and I watched the one that where she was celebrating her birthday, and she talked about this book, Love from the Pink Palace, so passionately that I immediately was like, I have to get that book and I have to read it. It sounds heartbreaking, like I'm probably gonna cry. Again, if I need to read a book where you're gonna cry, I might have to pick this one up, because I do think it's all about the AIDS crisis. Memories of Love, Loss, and Cabaret Through the AIDS Crisis. It's the memoir of Jill Nalder. And I don't really know Jill Nalder because I am not British. Sorry. But yeah, it's really just based on Charlie's recommendation that I've picked this up, and it could be on my list. I guess this could be display, or I should really know what those 4 words are. I'll figure it out by the time I film. By the time I film my TBR, I'll have figured out the prompts. Another book that I'd heard so much about that I really wanted to get, there's a couple here that I heard so much about that I wanted to pick up. Orwell's Roses by Rebecca Solnit. Again, I haven't read anything by Rebecca Solnit. I used to follow her on social media. So I just wanted to pick this up because I'd heard good things about it, but I've never read anything of hers. And this is based on George Orwell's Rose Garden. And I think she uses it as a reflection. What does she do? It's her account of this overlooked aspect of Orwell's life, journeys through his writing and his actions, from going deep into the cool mines of England and fighting in the Spanish Civil War to his critique of Stalin. I think this will be fascinating. Maybe this is like a good one for web, because web, roses, web, I don't know. I haven't read a lot of nonfiction lately, and I'm kind of excited about it. Another set of essays that I'd heard so much about a couple years ago that I would love to explore is The Empathy Exams by Leslie Jamieson. This was the winner of the Grey Wolf Press Nonfiction Prize, and I know that many people were talking about it at some point when I wasn't on the internet. And I don't know how she approaches the concept. It says, beginning with her experience as a medical actor, paid to act out symptoms for medical students to diagnose. Oh, interesting. Leslie Jamieson's The Empathy Exams asks essential questions about our basic understanding of others. How should we care about one another? How can we feel another person's pain? Oh, interesting. Jamieson draws from her own experiences to engage in an exploration of empathy that extends far beyond her life. Oh, this sounds so good. I know I'd heard really good things about it. Love to read that too. And I picked this book up because, well, a little mushed somehow. I don't know how. But I think it's some advice that I could take to heart. This book tells you how to do nothing. How to do nothing, resisting the attention economy. I've heard good things about this, and it has a gorgeous cover. A friend of mine gave this as a gift to another friend of mine when they unexpectedly had to be doing nothing for a little while. And so I kind of took that as a recommendation. Those chapters like The Case for Nothing, Anatomy of Refusal, Restoring the Grounds for Thought. This book is totally up my alley. I'm ready to do nothing. That looks fantastic. Here's a fun one. And I did pick this one up because I knew that there was a fraud. I knew that fraud was one of the words. And I think I'm going to try to read this for the fraud. Although I do have Picnic at Hanging Rock, but this sounds so fun too. The Con Queen of Hollywood, The Hunt for an Evil Genius by Scott C. Johnson. So this is about, do we not know who she is? It says, blending years of deep reporting with distinctive powerful prose, Scott C. Johnson's unique true crime narrative recounts the tale of the brilliantly cunning imposter who carved a path of financial and emotional destruction across the world. Gifted with a diabolical flair for impersonation, manipulation, and deception, the Con Queen used their skill with accents and deft psychological insight to sweep through the entertainment industry. But do we know who they are? Oh, I have to know. I love the idea of a con artist that's a woman. That really appeals to me. I'm like, I'll be taking notes. Okay, and the last two books that I have, this sort of fits with the theme of spooky and nonfiction, which I'm trying to combine because I'm really in a spooky mood. This is A Rather Haunted Life by Ruth Franklin, and it is the story of the life of Shirley Jackson. And I have to say that this is very exciting to me. I'm so excited at the prospect of reading this. You know, my dad used to buy all of these biographies of these people that he loved. Oh, look, there's a photo. There's a photo of her. Genius. Instantly heralded for its masterful and thrilling portrayal, Shirley Jackson reveals the tumultuous life and inner darkness of the literary genius behind such classics as The Lottery, which I need to read, The Haunting of Hill House, which I have read. Demonstrates how her unique contribution to the canon so uncannily channeled women's nightmares and contradictions that it is nothing less than the secret history of American women of her era. Well, that's a lofty thing to write. That was written by the Washington Post. So Franklin investigates the interplay between the life, the work, and the times with real skill and insight, making this, oh, these are all quotes. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Oh, this could be so good in those dark winter months. Yes. Might not get to it for Nonfiction November, but I guess this would be Display. I think Display, people talk about their lives. Last book that I picked up for Nonfiction November, which I've heard nothing but amazing things about as well, is Unreconciled by Jessie Wente. Family Truth and Indigenous Resistance. This is a memoir, I think. So Jessie is an Anishinaabe Indigenous writer. Jessie Wente remembers the exact moment he realized that he was a certain kind of Indian, a stereotypical cartoon Indian. He was playing softball as a child when the opposing team began to war hoop when he was at bat. That and many similar incidents formed Wente's understanding of what it means to be a modern Indigenous person in a society still overwhelmingly colonial in its attitudes and institutions. As the child of an American father and an Anishinaabe mother, Wente grew up in Toronto with frequent visits to the reserve where his maternal relations lived. By exploring his family's history, including his grandmother's experience in residential school, and citing his own frequent racial profiling by police who'd stop him on the streets, Wente unpacks the discrepancies between his personal identity and how non-Indigenous people view him. He argues that reconciliation is a flawed concept. Peace between First Nations and the state of Canada can't be recovered through reconciliation because no such relationship ever existed. Through the lens of art and pop culture and with disarming humor, Wente links his love for baseball and movies to such issues as cultural appropriation, Indigenous identity, and Indigenous narrative sovereignty. Storytelling in all its forms, he says, is one of Indigenous people's best weapons in the fight to reclaim their rightful place. Passionate, incisive, and galvanizing, Unreconciled is part memoir and part manifesto, an eye-opening look at modern Indigenous life and a clarion call to address the gulf between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians. I mean, it's a must read, even just from the description on the back. So we shall see if I get to it. Yes, I hope so. So those are the books that I've bought recently, and I make no apologies. I do take books out of the library. I do buy books. What's the worst thing that can happen? I will unhaul books. I will take them to my little library, and they will be wonderful gems of discovery for other people in my community. I have no problem. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far in the video, let me know what books you've picked up recently, if you've bought any books recently. Let me know what you're reading for Nonfiction November. I'm going to be posting my TBR for the month and really making some difficult decisions. So you can look out for that video coming up next. And yeah, just thank you so much for sticking around, and I will see you in the next video. Oh, I forgot to show you my spooky nails. They actually glow in the dark. I don't know if anyone's interested. Can you see the little ghosties? Look at the little ghosties. Oh my God, they're so cute. Look, you guys. Look at him. So happy Halloween, everyone. Trick or treat. Smell my feet. Give me something good to eat. Bye. So I do try to, oh my God. The squeaker in this toy is almost done. I'm so excited for it to be done. Gone. Finito. Okay, so this is a memoir. So the Pallbearers and the Vaster Wilds. Did I say her new book, The Vaster Wilds? I hope so. Nola gets excited when I turn the camera on, and my brain turns to mush when I turn the camera on.